when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers. Hope you got a chance to dance. That's what we're here for, bringing you your weekly dose of boogie in your seat. Also, some talking about books. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky. Hello, Lana.
Hello, good morning. You know, we're doing 2 chapters a week. I love it because we can go so thoroughly into what we're talking about. But also, I'm sitting there every week like, every chapter, I feel like there's more things my brain is trying to... Am I going to start taking notes? Am I going to be that person? I'm going to try to resist, but man, oh man, lots to cover between those 2 chapters.
Oh my goodness. So many big moments this week for 2 chapters.
And probably a dozen more that we don't even realize are big moments.
Truly. I got to say though, Lana, kind of missed my boy Tehal and Bug.
I know.
It's been a minute since we hung out with those folks, and I miss them.
Bring them back.
I need to see him soon. But we are doing chapter 16 and 17? No, 15, 16.
Yes.
15, 16 this week of Midnight Tides. Woo! I'm ready. I'm prepared. I was ready to dance. That was about it this morning. We also always, as you may know, start the show with a non-spoiler topic. So if you're not caught up with the novel that we are reading, you can still hang out, talk about books, get your boogie on. This week, we're going to do a topic that was submitted on our YouTube by a user by the name of Ylevra3285. I'm sure I nailed that.
Perfect.
No notes.
Flawless.
Ylevra. That person writes, I'm not sure if this has been brought up before on the channel, but a neat non-spoiler topic would be author blogs, podcasts, etc. Do you engage with author-created content excluding books, or is it something you avoid? Personally, I only have 2 authors that I follow: Sanderson's excellent podcast about nothing and everything, and Ilona Andrews' blog about their life and excellent advice on being a professional author. So, Lana, do you read any of this ancillary content from authors that you are into?
Largely, no. I started to try and engage more with authors as they are as people. I think right before the Twitter was starting to no longer become Twitter, but then things would get lost in the algorithm and I sort of fell out of it. Probably the most I've ever followed an author was Stephen King. I used to watch tons of interviews of Stephen King. So I don't know if that's like author created content, but the author was in the interview. So they're kind of creating their half of the interview. But I think Stephen King is not shy at being spicy, and he will have some hot takes that I definitely appreciate. And I started following him when there was like a lawsuit from my school where I forget if they suspended or tried to expel a student because they wrote a story that scared a teacher so much that they expelled them. And he wrote the school shaming them and saying if that student had done so well in this fictional work that they wrote, that they scared you that much, they should be commended, not expelled. And I was like, yo, Steven, my
That's
guy.
Rad. I like how he's keeping tabs on various school districts. Like,
well, it was like news.
Oh yeah,
because the person I think was like, I forget how it trickled into the news, but I admire so much that he did like write this school to stick up for this one random student. And
that's amazing.
I deeply admire him as like a guy and not just an amazing author.
I thought you were going to say he wrote in and said, your school is too close to Cary. I don't care for that. The school in Cary with the bullies and the hoy hoy. Yeah, he seems like a stand-up dude. I follow him on social media and I enjoy his world commentary and his book review recommendations. He's
Mhm.
a voracious reader as well, as I assume most authors are,
Yes.
and has lots of really wonderful recommendations for books. Um, it's funny that you bring up author interviews because I used to. It's kind of hard to bring this up now because the man has been disgraced, and rightfully so. But I used to be a massive fan of Charlie Rose. All my favorite people, by the way. I must have terrible taste. All my favorite people when I was growing up, all the people that I wanted to be like, turned out to be horrible humans.
Mm.
I loved Bill Cosby and Woody Allen and Charlie Rose. All the people that I looked up to. I just not good
Big
taste.
bummer.
Me,
Mega bummer.
mega
Mega
bummer.
bummer.
Anyway, Charlie Rose show was incredible. If you can separate his what apparent jerkdom,
Mm.
but when I was in high school and college, I to show you how long ago it was, I TiVo'd every episode of Charlie Rose, and he did a great job at focusing on authors. He would bring on authors quite frequently, authors and architects and like people that nobody else interviewed. And I was so into his discussions with you know Gore Vidal and what have you, just like incredible authors that were just so fascinating to me and opened my eyes to a lot of their work. So I love that stuff. That's not really, I think, what
I know, but I
our
don't.
friend is asking about. Yeah,
That was the closest I got.
yeah, no, I
I'm like a
agree.
bad fan.
You're not a bad fan. I think it's a whole new world now. I'm sort of honestly, this process of doing the book club and getting to know Steven Erikson a bit and his really awesome, I think, availability to
Mhm.
people like us and lots of others has, I think, kind of brought me into this much more than I ever used to be, because I think I mentioned this a long time ago when we talked about a different topic, but I used to really try to avoid like the picture on the dust jacket of I didn't want to know who the author was. I didn't want to know what they looked like. I
Mhm.
didn't want to know their gender. I didn't want to
Yeah.
know. I was just sort of like, let them be this nebulous, let the bridge between the character and me be uninterrupted by an intermediary, i.e. the idea of the author in my head. And I've really kind of abandoned that notion lately and much more embraced the authorship of the author. And I think part of that is, I love our friend, AP, the Critical Dragon, and there's a lot of booktubers that have access to authors and will do content with authors. And so much of that is really fun and additive to the experience of being a fan of books.
Hmm.
So I think I'm just sort of transitioning into this, and I really appreciate Y Level 3285's. I'm sure I'm nailing the pronunciation. I really appreciate their recommendations. I'm going to check out this Ilona Andrew blog. She said about their life and excellent advice on being a professional author. I think that sounds like something I'd be keen to check out and read. And I definitely love podcasts, interviewing authors. I love, any kind of literary stuff like that. I'm all over. So it's
There's
just sort of transitioning into it.
Yeah. I feel like I did actually, when we were talking about the dust jack or the author, I feel like you are the type of person to like really go deep on things. I didn't realize when we talked about that, like how at odds with like your normal level of fandom that is. It's very interesting. I will say, like, having you talk a bit about it, I did think of one thing that, again, it's not author created, at least not by the author, but I remember the first time I read Patrick Rothfuss's
Name of the Wind.
Name of the Wind.
Yeah.
There was like a read along that somebody else did, and I feel so guilty that I cannot remember who did it, but I believe it was another author read through and like analyzed the book and wrote like another book length sort of read along walkthrough of the book. And after I read that book, I loved it so much that I immediately found that and like basically read through it again through the eyes of somebody else reading it,
Oh,
and just
that's
like
cool.
watching them read it. That's probably the closest I've been to like an author created piece of content. But that was like the one time I went like way down a rabbit hole for a book before.
Well, like bringing up Pat Rothfuss is like opens up a whole another avenue for me of this too. Is one of the things I truly love, and you can find a lot of it on YouTube, is author panels from conventions. And there he is great on a panel. That dude is I got to know him a little bit in the early years of my
hosting
life, back when there were very, very few podcasts. He was sort of, Name of the Wind was very new. Wise Man's Fear was years away still. And he was very cool, accessible, neat, nice guy. He would go to PAX and, do their D&D sessions and stuff. And he was very nice and, exchanged phone numbers with me and stuff. I'm sure if I called him now, he'd be like, whoa, who is this person? But it was many years ago. Anyway, but I love that stuff. I love the like panel discussion stuff, especially when it's multiple authors bouncing off of each other or kind of interacting with each other in front of an audience. I love that stuff.
I mean, it's just seeing people, I think maybe we've talked about it on the show before, but seeing people like in their element, whatever their niche is never not enjoyable. Maybe it was thinking of yesterday when we were talking about collections on the paid DLC, that one of the other shows that we do together, where I said something about yo-yoing and you were like, yes, talk about your niche thing.
Yeah.
But like seeing authors talk to each other and they're like, we can just be ourselves and talk about our craft in a way that is just, I'm very aligned with you. And I love that. I love seeing somebody just love the thing that they love so thoroughly.
Yeah. And have this sort of mutual respect conversation.
Yes.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I love your stuff. You love my stuff. Let's
be
relate
friends.
to each other as peers. And then I'm in the audience as a fly on the wall. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. Anyway, great topic. Wylevra, if I may call you that. If you'd like to have a comment or a topic, we'd love your suggestion for what we should talk about in this part of the show. So you can do it a number of different ways. Do it like Wylevra did by posting it in the as a comment on the YouTube, or you can send it to us as an email, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. And there's a third way, posting it in our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC. On Discord, there's a book club section there with each of the books. Awesome. All right. Let's jump in to chapter 15 of Midnight Tides. We start. Oh, that means spoilers starting now. Mm-hmm. And we start with our girl, Saren Pedak. These couple of chapters, rough for our girl. Rough for our girl. But we start calm before the storm. Well, not that calm, because it's still annoying. They've been booted. They've been kicked out. All their stuff taken. All of Baruch the Pale's iron gone. The guy has no more irons in the fire. And they're walking. They're walking through the mountains, tired, exhausted, frustrated. Baruch has a walking stick and nothing else. And he's kind of testy. I feel like there's a lot of foreshadowing here of him already having made the decision of what he does later.
Oh, yeah.
They're being pestered by wraiths, which, I've been on a number of really grueling hikes in my time. I feel like adding wraiths is pretty rough.
Yeah, just in general, wraiths, it's like a will they, won't they kill me? It could have been a peaceful, like, time for meditation back. No, it's a hustle. Get out of the territory or you will be slaughtered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're watching you. We're haunting you. Keep moving. Just keep on moving. But Saren approaches the thing we saw way back in one of the early chapters, that crazy rock wall where she can sort of see things moving behind it like a veil. In the early chapter, she got healing from it, and she does here again a little bit, but more, she overhears a creepy convo.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was like this. I was reading the thing that happened before the chapter, like the poems or the excerpts from books that are in the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's talking about an obsidian wall and that there's a world behind it, which is like something that we sort of sussed out, but this is pretty explicitly saying. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's the voices. Interesting. Great. We're right into it. There's no
Yeah, no need to wait for that to pay off.
What do you make of these voices where they're talking about there's two of them, one of them is here, she's listening right now, get her, or whatever?
Yeah. Two mistresses to the same hold. They say that Saren is one of them. I feel like there's something to Saren that we don't know about yet, right? We had her have this weird like feather witch. What feather witch? I know what that means. That hasn't come back up again. And all of this, like she has kind of secret superpowers of getting healed from the wall. She has there's something going on. And then the spirits are literally like, she's special. So I don't know what to make of it, but I feel like it's going to pay off at some point.
Yeah, I agree. There's like nothing more I got than that. But then also just like in the later chapters, she's clearly being sought after for a reason.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes. So I don't know what two mistresses of the same hold, her being one. I don't know what any of that is, but I think we're going to find out.
Any guess for other mistress? Knowing nothing. Feather witch.
Feather witch? Maybe. Mayan?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking of all the only other
mistresses?
Female characters that are kind of prominent right now. I don't know. Yeah, mistresses. Yeah. I don't know. Feather witch is probably the smarter guess. Anyway, she also finds out that Baruch has kind of a dark past. He's got debts. He is indebted, and he's musing about. I read to a certain point of what happens to Baruch, and then I went back and reread this chapter, and it's all like foreshadowing. He's like, oh yeah, well, I just have to be unuseful to people, and that's gonna happen soon. And she's like, are you going back to your hometown? Yep. Are you? Well, then what? Are you going to leave? Nope. I'm going to be there for the rest of my day. It's like he's completely already resigned to what he's going to do.
I mean, there's like one sentence in particular that to me, like, I definitely saw it coming, where she was like, there's got to be a way to get out of it. And he was like, well, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know what that way is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they Saren and Baruch reach this sort of camp where there's these mages, the Letheri soldiers and the Sita's mage cadre, and they recognize them as being real powerful mages, like baller mages. We have names for all of them: Nikel Bara. And the other two, well, I'm not even going to attempt.
Etc.
Arahothan. Enedicto. Nailed them.
Wylefra. Sorry.
Exactly. Anyway, Saren realizes that some bad stuff's about to go down. There's soldiers milling about, and these mages are starting a ritual. And Baruch is like, this looks like a real big ritual.
Wow, they're really moving further apart, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. And then they unleash real powerful magic.
Such powerful magic that's just sucking their allies in and evaporating them in the power stream.
You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. So you're going to evaporate you're going to kill people on the other side. And anybody who doesn't, one of them's get a little blood splatter.
This feels like a weapon of mass destruction type situation where they unleash this massive wall of death, this energy that shoots up into the sky and just kind of mows down, and they unleash it on the Edur city. And Saren is like, no, don't do this. And Brooke's like, oh, you know what? Hanag Mosag, don't have time to stop it. Look, it's happening. Oh, you're right. I was right. You didn't have time to stop it. It just completely obliterates this city. And she, Saren's like, there's children there. And those guys are like, too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal.
Brutal. Super brutal.
Yeah.
Well, brutal. They think it's brutal.
They think it's brutal. I mean,
Sorry,
the concept
the action
is brutal.
is brutal.
Yeah.
But
you know, luckily our boy Hull gave everybody the hulls up.
luckily, we've got our friendly neighborhood trader.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, but before we get to that, we're still with Saren and Baruch, and it's a day later. They're on this riverboat, just like, oh, I'm glad we got out of there. Let's go to Trait and let's just relax, have a glass of tea, a cup of tea. Nothing can go wrong. Just a little sippy sip, and then I'll.
Yeah.
And Baruch poisons Saren and knocks her out.
It's so interesting to see their relationship develop into being so contentious, not contentious, but like Saren, you know, working for Baruch and sort of feeling contempt for him and him like drinking his alcohol that he's infused with white nectar or whatever. So he's just constantly getting himself obliterated because he's so miserable and he hates what he's about to do. And everybody can tell you're about to do something bad, man, because you're like self-medicating on the way there to try and cope with whatever it is you're going to try and do.
Right.
To them both kind of being like, well, we are in the camp and some stuff seems to be happening around us. And they're both kind of like with each other, like just being witnesses to things, to
kind of like, caring about each other,
kind of caring about each other, having like a soft friendship, if not friendship, allyship, to this feeling like a very tender poisoning that Baruch has gifted her.
The nicest of poisoning.
The nicest poisoning that you could possibly give somebody.
Yeah, that's right. It's the thought that poisons, you know?
But there's something that they're talking about right before that. And then she sips the tea and she's like, tea. What are they saying?
That I think that was where he kind of tells her about
how he's indebted and he's basically just being held up as though he's like some
and he tells her he's going to end her contract. She's
that's it.
She's like, I just want to, I want out of the contract. He's yeah, that's cool. And then he says, I've always like cared for you or something like that. I've always held you. I can't remember the exact words, but some thing that she then recalls later about him basically revealing that he's been in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is, man, these people got to get the act together. Somebody say how you feel.
Well, this is one of the things that I find so impressive about Erikson and these novels is we've talked about this before, but what you can really signpost as side characters or what would be side characters in any other novel, what appear to be on the outset purely functional characters, like Baruch the Pale exists only to be the gruffy master to our
to be the reason
we actually care about.
Yeah, to be the reason that Saren is around.
Exactly. Saren is the one in most novels that we have insight into, that has a three-dimensional emotional life, is the one we associate with, we empathize with, has internal struggles. That's our, a main character.
Mm-hmm.
And there are these ancillary characters, these surrounding characters that are more functional, that are just there to bump into our main character and push them through the story in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how these things work. But Erikson somehow finds a way to make even the tiniest side characters fully three-dimensional,
mm-hmm.
fully relatable, have depth and nuance. And I think that's one of the things that's so amazing about Baruch the Pale's revelation. He just seemed to me like, I know exactly who this is, and I know exactly what function he serves in the story. I don't need to care about. He's going to be the jerk boss that does something, to contribute to the bad stuff we're about to see. And, he's minimized. And yet we discover all this stuff about him. He has nuance. He has these different facets. And there's just so few novelists that take the time to build that for everybody. And he seems to do it
mm-hmm.
with every character.
And like, it's sometimes it's just a sentence, and then the sentence has so much in it that you see the full story of it, a truly side characters, like they're just
Yeah.
in and out of the story. And then sometimes it's like, oh, Baruch, this, like, I'm feeling a full arc. I'm not even like learning and being like, oh, I get it. It's like my feelings, I'm brought on this journey to feel for this person and care for them.
Yeah.
Even when they have been like a jerk forever. I mean, think
Yes.
about what was the guy from book 3, like the big bad, and being like, I don't want to live this life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it
Like,
seems like
it's-
that with every character. I mean, we have another example of it even with a smaller character who doesn't even get a name.
Mhm.
The deckhand that Baruch pays to take care of Saren, we learn like has a daughter that he sold off. It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And you just have these tiny little characters that have full lives and backstories that in so many other narratives you would just never have any insight into, and you kind of don't need it because they're just there to be one thing, but it's so much richer that they feel like real people in this world.
Yeah. I want to touch on one thing with Baruch because I don't know, like it feels like impactful. It's just sort of like another piece of things we've already been discussing. But the fact that he has been propped up and basically pretending to be this merchant, or he is a merchant,
Yeah.
but despite seeming like he's well off, he's like constantly middling, even though he's working his buns off trying to sell his iron or whatever he's been
Yeah.
merchant. Do we assume that this is a Queen's thing or a Garen Ebericht thing?
Oh, interesting. I took it as a Letheri. We want people to be in debt for their whole lives, and that's how we dominate people, is by making sure they're indebted forever ever. That was my impression of Baruch's story, is that it's another example of how this sort of capitalistic predatory culture gets people into a financial hardship and then has leverage on them forever.
I assumed that he was like indebted, that they were like, all right, you can come be a merchant. However, you're going to do our
Maybe.
bidding.
Well, there is some sort of like blackmail element of it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't
maybe
know.
you're right. Then I would lean toward the Queen/Prince
And
that-
not
Garen, but you could be right. That's interesting. Maybe we'll find out more about that.
Mm-hmm.
You're always so insightful. I love it. Anyway, so we have this moment where Saren wakes up from being drugged, and this kindly deckhand who Baruch paid a year's salary just to sort of make sure she's okay is like, he said, definitely don't go in the house. Do not go in the house. The one thing he was super clear about is don't go in the house. So, of course, Saren runs directly to the house, kicks the door down, and finds Baruch having hanged himself.
Sad.
Yeah. Then we move over to Trull. Trull is out and about. The war is in full effect. He is with the Marood chief, Hanradi Kalag. And they meet up with the Zhek. The Zhek are now like on their side.
Buddies.
There's a turn of events I didn't see coming.
Buddies. They care about that blade, baby.
They care about that blade.
Well, here's the thing I think is interesting, because they hold like Trull is now they're sort of reverent for his fighting ability.
Yeah. They're like, you killed so many of my bros.
We tried so hard to kill you, and we could not.
You're awesome.
But it also is sort of like, I know Trull was like, is this like a fever dream I had? Is this just like a product of the cold? I guess there's like blood all over me and my stuff's gone, but
yeah,
what does that really mean? And they're like, no, we were there. We were going for it.
You murdered so many of my dogs. And by dogs, I mean actual dogs.
So ridiculous. Yeah. But they seem like so willing to like hang. My impression of them when they were like getting the sword was that the Jek were not also going for it. It seemed like they were. I'm surprised that they we're here, because now it seems like they're into the sword, whereas when we were in the actual ice fields, I projected as they were like protecting people so that nobody used it.
Yes.
Was like my headcanon for
They
that moment.
definitely seem to be trying to prevent people from getting to it. But now
Yeah.
you're right. Now that there's some guy wielding it, they're like, guess that's our guy, and we follow that guy.
Hey, war.
Yeah, you love war. We love war. We meet Banaga the Dominant, who is the leader of the Zhek. And Troll is still kind of sour about the whole like my brother is ruling everybody thing.
Big
You know?
pouty energy from Troll in these chapters.
Super pouty.
So pouty. I'm like, I get it, but also there's got to be a better way to express yourself.
Bro, this is how you're going to get yourself chained to a rock.
Yo, turn that frown upside down. Lest ye
now.
be. Lest
Attitude.
ye be.
So we see that the Idur entire population is like going to war. They're split between land armies and water fleets. And there's some interaction between Fear and Banaga. Fear is kind of in his element, as the leader of the war effort and the guy who has trained the warriors. And we find out that the giant magic unleashing that destroyed the Idur colonies that didn't actually kill anybody because everybody had evacuated in time, but it still did wipe out their villages, which not great.
Yeah,
not great.
Looking on, being like, dang, they really was gonna burn us all to the ground.
Yeah,
huh.
Yeah,
bummer. Yeah. And I just want to say one thing about Troll's sort of poutiness, and maybe we get to it. It's, aligned in that, like, hey, we're going to senseless slaughter, baby. Going to war is like a bummer. But Troll seems still very pouty about like tiny parts. He doesn't seem like to have a big picture sadness. He's still like, but can you believe Mayan? That was not even his girlfriend. It's like he's so hyper focused on like not the parts of the story that matter.
You kneeled before him.
Yeah.
Ew,
gross.
Yeah.
Did I? Yeah, but only because you did.
Right. And then he meets up with this captain who like he thinks hates him, but he's awesome. This left-handed awesome dude, all Rada on. And I love this little moment of him being like, all right, here's what we got to do. And the captain's like, really? Is that the smartest way to do it? And he's like, yes. And I should not be questioned. I'm the leader. Just in his head, though, like, why did he say that in front of everybody? I thought that was a really interesting way to illustrate the dynamic that of like even his subordinates are like, is that such a good idea, Troll? Meanwhile, the Zhek are like, this guy's amazing.
It is. It almost seems like there is. Well, here's the question: is it just that they are like, Troll, you are not on board with the thing we're all on board with, and so we're doubting you? Or because I get the vibe that they're just like, is that really the right thing? Yeah. Not because it was a bad plan, but just because Troll has like lost credibility because of his lack of going along in this.
I think my impression was he doesn't have the eye of the tiger. You know what I mean? He doesn't have. He's sort of like, but there's children, and they're like, ugh, this guy with his feelings and caring about innocence. That was my take on it. Maybe I'm not right, but I felt like they're kind of like, he said, we got to go around this way. And they're like, no, that's what losers do.
We will be able to slaughter so many fewer people if we do that. Yeah.
Kind of a Karsa Orlong early chapters situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, they to that point exactly. They have this really wonderful tense scene where they're like, he's trying to figure out like, the captain's going to come up, or they're on this bridge, and they're like, are we gonna we're gonna have to fight them? Are we gonna win? Are they gonna win? What's the commander of the other army gonna do? And this scout comes running by, and they throw a spear into the back of his shoulders, murdering him. And we find out that it was a child, a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah, despicable.
Yeah. war is hell,
Yep.
obviously. But
Mhm.
Troll seems to be the only one who thinks that's not great to murder a 14-year-old. And they're like, hey, man, he was a scout. What are we going to do?
Everybody's like, we got one, bro.
Yeah.
We got one.
Yeah. Okay, so then there's this really interesting connection to the previous novels, which this novel doesn't have a ton of, to be frank. We haven't had a lot of connecting back to characters we've heard about. But there's this amazing moment where that commander is like, he's like, Troll has this admiration for him because he's sort of worldly and well-traveled and has been hanging out with different groups of people. And he's like, you've been with the Denratha tribe? He's like, yeah. He's like, have you seen these markings before? He's like, yep, we sure have. And there's this dude, this tusked man. Usually the markings are on ice, and sometimes we see the tusked man hanging out.
That's the guy from the start of the book. What's his name?
No, I thought it was Icarium.
Oh,
I thought it was Icarium because remember,
you're so right. You're so right, because this is when they get to the quote unquote bridge.
They get to the bridge and they find that weird mechanism that
It's
moves.
A clock.
It's a clock, right? It's Icarium's.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I was thinking. Don't worry about it. Yes.
I mean, it's not spelled out, so I could be wrong, but I feel
the
like
markings actually say Icarium. So it's just signature. But when they're describing this, I felt like I read the description of like the bridge so many times of them being like, it's not like a bridge, as you think about it. It's like a disc.
And it moves when we stand on it.
Just like slow. Like if you like stood on one part of it, it would like eventually take you to the other side.
Yeah. Like it would
slowly.
Tell you like a certain time of day. It would tell you.
But no, that's not. That would be so inconvenient for like what this is. Got like a foamy. It's like got a scuzz on it. What is it? Doesn't he like swipe it and he's like, yeah, that's got some gross stuff on it. Yeah. Anyway, very, very interesting. Definitely Icarium. Sorry. I was thinking.
But I thought fascinating that we just get that. And he's like, oh, yeah, we see that guy, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, moving on. It's like, oh, that seems important. Then we head over to see what Udnas is up to. And he has this sort of musing / dialogue with Wither in his brain about the First Empire and the Talana Moss, how they destroyed the First Empire. We get a lot of. Were you
surprised by this coming in? I was like, oh, okay, what's up?
Yeah. Yes.
How's Malaz? Interesting. All right, let's talk about whatever. And they're talking about how their whole area is like, they're all around us right now.
Yeah.
They're bored by you. They don't care about you, but they could be here.
Right. And they specifically call out the fact that there was one who is now 7. And I was like, 7 cities. It was 1 city and now it's 7 cities because the First Empire fell and became 7 cities, right?
I was thinking 7 faces in the rock, the 7 Talana.
That might be it too.
Yeah. That
might be it. I thought it was 7 cities. I like that's the other 7 thing, but you're probably more right. So Udnas then has this weird moment where he starts doubting all of the things that have happened to him. Where he's like, did I really get raped by that gold lady? Maybe that seems too weird to have happened to anybody, really.
That's wacky.
That's odd. Have I actually been possessed by a Wyval? Nobody would buy that. If you wrote it in a story, nobody would buy it. I don't think it happened. It's like all of it is after the Feather Witch rejected me, so maybe I've just been completely
trying to cope with my unrequited love.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just sad about the Feather. Oh, hey, Feather Witch. And she literally like walks up right when he's moping about it. Maybe I went completely insane because I was in love with it. Oh, there she is.
And she's like, it's real.
She's like, you idiot.
I do like that we sort of get the reveal in this scene that Feather Witch was like, I'm not like, because the whole time I've been like, she seems like so mad at him. Like,
Yeah.
way too mad at him. And then she's like, I wanted to be the dragon.
Yes.
I was like so happy that there was this reveal, like this reason why she's been so mad. So
Yeah.
mad. Yeah.
She was literally like summoned a demon so it would possess her.
Yeah.
And then it possessed that other guy.
And then he's like, my love, I would rescue you.
I would give
Classic.
you the demon inside me in a heartbeat if it meant you would like me more.
Yeah.
BT dubs, not a picnic having a demon inside you. Just
in case you thought it was going to be so chill.
You really wanted it. It turns out not too great.
But I do have like so much knowledge now. And she's like, oh, that's what I wanted.
I also love how he's like, maybe he chose me because I've given up on everything. You still have dreams and hopes, and I just accepted life.
I was just a vessel.
Yeah, I was just a completely hopeless case. I lost the will to care. So she's like, all right. She grabs this tile, smacks it on him. So we're going to the dream world. He's like, I don't want to go to the. Then,
it's not a dream.
Fire engulfs them, and they're taken to the fire hold, I guess.
Are they?
I think so. Aren't they?
She's like, I hit you with the fire hold, and he's like, well, we're in the beast hold. She's like, there's not a beast hold. And he's like, sorry, I don't know. That's what it is. Yeah. So I thought she tried to take me through the fire hold. I thought they sort of tumbled through flames, but did not end up in the fire hold.
I think that's accurate. And this whole dream sequence is wild, and I don't necessarily know I extracted everything I was supposed to.
This is like one of the times where I was just like, bro. Yeah. There's things that people in the comments are going to be like, I can't believe you. Yeah. And it's all sorry.
There, man.
I know. We're doing our best. But let's try.
We'll try to parse it.
The things that I recall off. Well, no, like the important thing that I recall off the top of my dome is that Feather Witch is like, okay, I saw you get raped by that lady. What? Does that mean something to you that I saw it for real?
Yeah. It's like, it really happened. Awkward. Yeah. And then they meet his son.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that part.
Pretty big deal.
Here's the proof.
Yeah. So we have this really odd interaction where evidently they're in Mekros, the dead city of Mekros.
Which is Mekros a type of person?
I think it's both. Okay. But it's the Mekros are from Mekros.
Naturally.
And he recognizes it as Mekros because like the type of wood and the docks, they were like fisher people. And this person walks up to them. Now, this is another thing that I need you to tell me if means anything.
Okay.
The person that walks up to them, and they have this really interesting moment where it's like, I don't understand what you're saying. He's like, do you speak hunter language or trader language? He's like, oh yeah, I totally speak trader. I thought that was a cool moment of like, we both speak this other language and then we can communicate. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Rud Alali?
I said rude. Rude Alali.
Shirkalali? But is it just a quinkydink?
Well, let me say this. I wouldn't be surprised if Shirk was rude, like one and the same person, because she's pretty rude and getting ruder by the minute. Thanks to the oodle.
I mean, my feeling was that these are just relatives of her because we meet Arak Alali and Rude Alali.
Oh yeah, but Rude Alali is like a young person.
Yes,
I think you might be right, but I know that Shirk Alali, she's like, some stuff happened. I don't really remember. Right? To her.
Yes, but she doesn't seem to have anything to do with these people.
Yeah. But, so like either distant family lineage or like the thing that's clearly present here is it's like time be wacky. If this is what's his face's kid, is this the past? Is this the future?
Well, it's clearly the past because Mekros doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be the past So my interpretation was maybe they're ancestors of Shirk, but the Rude is not an actual Lolly. Rude is the child of Udnas and Menendore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a further confusion because we figured that out. Everybody figures that out, evidently.
Yeah.
And Rude has got like dragon DNA.
It's a dragon. It's like basically a
Yeah, and is rapidly aging.
Yes. He's like, I'm 7. He's like, see, can't be mine. He's like, weeks.
yeah. Oh, snap. Did not expect that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting confused with all the thoughts that I was thinking and then what I was actually reading. So I feel like I don't have thoughts. I can't have
I don't
thoughts.
have. Well, that's our show, everybody. No thoughts.
I remember being like, Rudalali, is Rudalali just actually Shirkalali? If this is the past, and then maybe Rude grows up and then dies and then turns into this bog witch that is now Shirk, or Shirk the child.
It could be, which would mean Shirk is Udnas's child.
But he does say
it's a boy.
Son.
We say it's a boy.
It's a son.
Yeah. So that's not going to be the case.
I'm just kidding, everyone. That's so dumb. That's so stupid.
It is a boy. We know that. And
so yeah, we'll say relatives. Shirk relatives. Yeah. I'll feel confident enough to say that just because the names are the same.
Yeah. It's an intense scene because then they start like going through the Warrens and like talk about what's important in the Warrens, and they're like, we're in Starvald Demolaine, which is the Dragon Warren, right? That's the Warren of soul-taken dragons, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
And then they're like, let's list them off, all the people we know.
I almost cross-referenced this with the list of fake companies that
Tehal
gave Bug.
That would be amazing.
I didn't.
And I would not put it above Erikson to do that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are in the list of like, I know that name. In fact, there's like Animander, Silkus Ruin, Scabandari, Draconis, Tiam. It's like all these very important people. But then they just sort of leave.
And I was like,
don't really know what to make of any of this. But
the only thing I took from it is that Alali important.
Alali important, yeah. And the fact that Udnas has a son from a dragon lady.
Yeah.
Pretty important.
Important.
All right. And then the last scene of this chapter, of chapter 15, is from the point of view of a completely new character, never introduced before. Twilight. And she's basically standing there going, all of them are coming. All of the Idur are on their way.
We're back in like the real world, and she is the captain of this outpost for Lethras. Right.
This very important outpost, Fent Reach. And she's like, we're retreating. And the guy standing next to her is like, what?
We could take him.
We got so many weapons. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I saw a giant demon underneath the water coming for us. A big shadow of a awful demon.
And they'd already seen the destruction that demon can do from Trake before. Trake?
So we are out of here.
Yeah.
So that's the retreat of this Fent Reach, which is a pretty big deal. Then chapter 16 starts with Udnas waking up from their dream, and this really kind of touching, sad moment where Featherwitch reveals how awful Mayan has become to her as her master.
Such a bummer.
Yes. Hurt people.
Yeah. The themes in this book, look, I feel like there's always books laced with a deep tragedy throughout them. There's also like comedy but one of the books, like the theme, despite all the sadness, felt like it was compassion. In this one, I'm like, the themes are indebtedness and rape. Feels bad. It's like we have like some of the most overt comedy with Tehal and Bug. And then I think the themes themselves are in that like the sadder space. It's very interesting how this
For sure.
balance
The
goes.
slavery,
Yeah.
the oppression of
Mhm.
economic oppression, it's I think it's on point. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously very resonant.
But it's like every other character. And I think
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it very special. Even the characters that seem powerful, they're
Yes,
held in chains to something.
indeed. The chain to God. But anyway, I thought this was really beautiful where she kind of admits how awful Mayan is treating her, and then has this moment of going, it's exactly how I treat you. Like the verbal abuse is how I treat you, Udnas. Thought that was lovely. All right, so back to Trull. They are still a fighting. There's lots of planning of the battles. We don't have to get into the details
It
of
happens
that.
in such a blur. How quickly they're like, I guess we're going to war. And then it's like, no, we're in war.
We are in war.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's going to be 4 major battles. Boom, here we go.
Yep.
Then we cut to Saren, who's just getting smash drunk.
Trying to.
Yeah, right. Can't. Yeah.
Well, I like that she's like, I'm trying to get drunk. And like physically, maybe she's like a little stumbly and woozy, but consciously she is razor sharp. And that's the part she's trying to dull.
The pain. Yeah. Can't blunt the pain of that suicide. And this is where you really see, like, this wasn't just a person that, it wasn't just her crappy boss. There's some emotional effect here.
Mm-hmm.
And we have yet more new characters introduced. This dude Iron Bars comes strolling into the bar and kind of tries to be a little kind to Saren.
How quickly did I realize he was from off continent just from the way that he talked? Yeah. Instantly.
So rad.
I love it. I love it.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's really incredible. That level, the familiarity we have, and the way the facility with language that Erikson uses to clue us into those things. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But he invites her onto his ship and says, we're getting out of here. We're getting out of Dodge. She's like, I just want to get drunk. I don't care. More on that in a moment. Mm-hmm. We cut over to the mage Nekelbara, who is standing on this lighthouse looking out. Like, I'm safe up here. Nothing bad can happen to me at the top of the lighthouse. And they know that Fent Reach has been surrendered. They see the ships that had been going there are now coming to Trait.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, we got mages. My boy Arahathan and Edicto are both ready to rock. We're gonna stand here. We're gonna unleash our. Oh no, demon spirit god.
That's a big demon.
All right, shoot the catapult with the fire. That should take it. Fizzle. Oh, that's not good.
I guess I'll turn myself into a javelin.
Awesome scene, though.
So sick.
Yeah.
What is in? So the demon unleashes some kind of sonic boom or something.
Yeah.
Which like evaporates the very bolts hanging the ladder from the White House from the lighthouse.
Yeah.
The people fall into the ocean. The whole lighthouse itself starts to groan, and the mage Nekelbara, what's her name?
Yeah, Nekelbara.
Nekelbara is like, well, javelin time, baby. Shoots herself like a lightning bolt into the side of the demon thing. Like, this is fine. I'll get to the heart of this thing. And then, horrified, haunted, shocked, aghast, what does she see in there? What's in there?
Well, I love the description of Arahathan like being completely destroyed, where like the face collapses, the eyes explode. Oh, it's so visceral. And then, yes, she leaps at this thing and sees that it has apprised of like all of these offerings that people had given to the god that thrown into this pit. And we have this awesome description of how a demon came to be. Like, did it exist? And
was drawn there by the offerings?
Or did the offerings itself sort of manifest this thing? Such a cool notion, such an interesting exploration of that idea that has existed, in the real world in superstition. I just thought that was amazing. And that it is this sort of jumble of all those things that have been offered to it, money and bodies, and just like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But yes, nothing at the center of it. What's at the center of it?
What is it? What is it? She gets in there and she's like, oh, I got to make a quick phone call. Seda, yo, you watch it through, and then it's over.
Dead.
What is it? What is it?
So cool.
I feel like it's one of those things where I'm like, should we know? Should we know? It's just
I don't think so. I didn't get the impression that it was, but maybe. I'm not very smart.
There's like so much. I mean, the water is so important through this book from like the very beginning, where I even have it on a Post-it here to add to our question list for Erikson, of like all the different metaphors for the sea and sea philosophies for different cultures, and Rulad resurrecting out of the water, and like the water is so important.
Midnight tides.
Yo. I truly did not. What a dumb non-observation. The book is called Midnight Tides. Bro, this is the dumbest thing. I'm done my rant. I'm like, wow, the water's important. Has anybody thought of that?
If there was only some way we could know that water is a big central motif in the novel.
I don't know if you know this. My brains are very big.
It's like the last book, like chains were a big deal.
Stop.
And the one before that, like ice was kind of I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, that's so dumb. Sorry, everybody.
I love it. So we have this very tragic moment where Saren wakes up. She has been abused. She has been robbed.
Horrible.
She is in a very bad state. Evidently succeeded in getting blackout drunk because she's in a real bad way. And Iron Bars, I mean, the way the city has transformed while she's been passed out into this kind of lawless anarchy,
I love this scene. Because it's like, the horrors of war. And then she's like, wait, the Adur aren't even here yet.
Yeah.
And it's just the desire to inflict pain, the desire to be chaotic. People just
the
living...
license to
Yes.
now I can do this because all bets are off.
Yeah. But it's just her own people. It's just the people she was drinking with at the bar. And you could see like how quickly we get into it, but before she was getting blackout drunk, the people riling themselves up in the bar.
Dude,
the conversation.
That thing she overhears about those guys, like, that guy can't say that. I'm going to sew his lips shut.
And then it's that's just a crazy threat. And it's like, no, we got him. We caught him. He's in the alley. It's like, I'm great at sewing. Ugh.
So foul.
Yeah.
Disturbing. But then Iron Bars comes in to save the day. And is amazing at fighting, and completely annihilates these dudes and starts beating this guy to death. And Saren says, "Stop! Don't do it. Kill him quickly. Don't make him suffer."
Yeah, I feel like people's Discord names broke me from our community. Iron Bars. I'm like, is that like a pun for somebody's name that we know? I'm thinking of Nefarious Bread, who was like,
oh yeah,
evil loaf or something, whatever, in Discord. I just was like, this book makes me feel like a conspiracy theorist. I'm just like, get that red yarn out, baby. Anyway,
there's something rad about the name Iron Bars, though. I love that name.
Yeah.
What's your name? Iron Bars. So cool. because his hair is like color of iron, but iron bars also kind of
His plain sword.
also evokes prison,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Iron bars.
True.
So I think there's more to this dude. And the fact that the crippled god like references him later and is like, I don't know, it's interesting. Anyway, his mage, Corlo, says, oh, the one positive out of the situation is the Warrens have become available. We've been sitting around looking for Warrens this whole time for I don't know how long. They've been stuck on this island looking for Warrens to get off of it. And now the fact that the Edur, I guess it was 2 years of being stuck on the island. Now they're able to sort of access a Warren. And they're like, that's how we're going to get out of here.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we're going to use the darkness hold. And she's like, there's not a darkness hold or whatever he says. And he's like, I'm using language so you'll get it.
Yeah. And then we cut over to Udnas, who is following Roulade, who's awesome with the sword, just like stabbing and murdering people and more skillful than he was ever before his transformation. Before his
love
possession.
The description of this scene of him being like physically clearly something, but visually looking out of control and not like emotionally out of control, like bloodthirsty. Like his body is beyond him.
Yeah.
And
he's screaming,
and like the description of like just getting the furtive glances every once in a while from like the people he's fighting with, like, oh my God, is he going to stab me next? Like, everybody can tell that this is weird.
Yeah.
And not just because he's still wearing his gold bodysuit.
Yeah. And then we have this completely shocking moment to me. I had lost the thread of, oh, Roulade, you're going to die over and over. It didn't occur to me to think that in the moment where he just gets his neck snapped out of nowhere.
Oh my God.
I was like, what? What just happened?
I knew that he was going to die again, but I don't think I realized it was like a full-on Groundhog Day. Like, oh, no. It's going to be over and over and over again. Because they only said, hopefully the next time will be less painful, but probably not.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, they're saving him for a greater purpose. And it's like, no, this is just your life now. You won't be in this loop forever.
Well, didn't he also say something about every time you die, you'll be more powerful?
Or
am I making that up?
You might be right. I don't know. I have a bad memory.
Anyway, I didn't even clock. I didn't recall that conversation about you're going to die over and over. And I was just like, did Erikson just kill off Roulade? Did we just lose one of the craziest characters that's been set up this whole time? It was an amazing moment. I just thought was like, oh, what? And how casual it was, where he's just like, snip, snap, snap, snap your neck. And I was like, what?
And also just, again, puts in the contrast, like the Crimson Guard.
Yeah.
The skill level.
Yeah.
Seeing
like,
Roulade.
Roulade's been so awesome with his sword.
Way more awesome than he's ever been. So
Yeah.
it's like snap. Anyway,
Later.
keep going.
And then the next scene is so rad where Iron Bars and is like leading Saren out, and she's like, what was that guy? He's like, yeah, that guy's got crazy gold armor. That was super weird.
We should take that. That would be super valuable if we had time, but we should really get going.
Yeah, we don't have time to like take that dude's armor, but man, what a weirdo. Anyway, moving on. She's like, wait, what was he? Did you kill?
What?
Amazing. Just amazing how casual. It's
great to have that through his perspective and not like in her brain.
So great. Then we cut immediately to Withal's point of view, sitting there like Withal is I just love this character. Bitter, not down for it. The fact that we're in their POV instead of, the crippled god's POV or whatever, is just like, I hate this job.
Look at
I
those.
sit here all day long with this idiot, this dumb god sitting in his tent. Here we go. All right, I got to pull this guy out of the water.
And these little demons that are clearly pretty smart, that are tormenting each other and therefore also tormenting me.
This is the worst gig I've ever had.
Okay, I'll make you a sword. Yeah.
Awesome. And Roulade wakes up like, oh, oh, I'm alive again. Oh, this
It's
sucks.
well,
I'm not doing that
I got the
anymore.
impression that he's sitting on the beach and Roulade is like, oh yeah, he's like vomiting.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I got the impression that he was just like screaming. And with all's like, okay, we're just
Yeah.
great. Okay, now the puking. Great, the puking. Get it
Yeah.
out. Get it out. It's so he's
so
so
funny. He's like,
nonchalant.
I'm not doing that anymore. He's like, I know you're gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. I'm gonna use this sword and stab the crippled god. He's like, you know, he can hear us and everything we're saying right now, right?
And you know, like once we get in arm's reach, that's like his whole domain.
It's like his whole jam. It's like his whole thing. Yeah.
Like, are you gonna javelin it in from outside? Because even then, once it gets past I'm pretty sure he's like invulnerable in there.
Yeah, he's a god. He's a god, and you're just some schmuck.
And you were just a guy who was too eager to take that sword.
It's so great. The dynamic is so great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so back to Saren. She's hanging out with the Crimson Guard. They're in this wild maze in these tunnels within a warren.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the mage Corlo is like, this is weird. I would expect this to be Corald Emerlon, which is, or I expect this to be Corald Ghislaine. Anyway, I expect it to be the
Edur one,
and it's the Tistandi one.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. And then they're like, oh, well, that's because the Tistandi are bound to them.
Mm-hmm. Did you think it was interesting that the warren was like these walls? Because like we've been inside both of these warrens before. What is it about it that suddenly the warren has their tunnels?
I feel like they can be lots of different things.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe, I don't know if it's just that simple or if there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yeah.
And they're like, you know what we should do? You know, it'd be a really great idea is like summon one of them and just like ask it some questions.
Just like what?
Just like see if it's cool. Like, is it cool? Maybe we're on the same side, and if we convince the crazy spirit that we're on the same side, we can like high five and be friends, and it'll all be good. And they can help us get out of here.
Yeah. We could kill one. We could take on one little wraith.
It might not like us, and then we'd have to fight it.
But
so everybody put your weapons up. But they summon this woman who does not look like I would expect a wraith to look when they summon, but they like manifested into like full. She has red hair and she's wearing clothes, and I was like, oh, I did not expect that. She's manifested
as just her Tistandi form.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And she thought, go ahead.
No, you.
Fascinating. Thinking about like the betrayal that happened and then the subsequent binding of the Andi in that battle to the Edur, and realizing, oh, there's actually a battle that happened that was going on for a long while before that even happened. And this woman was killed early on. She was killed earlier in that thing. And she was like, hey, I'm not a very good fighter, so I died early. So I'm not actually bound, but I'm like here.
It's so amazing. I know I keep saying this. Erikson,
good.
And it's always more sophisticated than it needs to be in a sense. It's like it's more interesting. The fact that she wasn't killed in the thing that we're trying to find out about. Mm-hmm. It's more nuanced, it's more complex, it's more realistic in that there's lots of levels to this. And I'm still pissed about the betrayal. I wasn't personally betrayed. I was killed by something completely different. Those Kachain Shamale that we were fighting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's always more interesting.
It's like expanded potential.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, if you're not actually bound, but you're still here, what does that mean? What is the implication there? You're obviously not the only one.
Yeah.
How many of these are sort of like free agents? Are they free? It's like just opens up all this potential and these questions that make for more interesting possibilities that are not just one side good, one side bad, one side has the power, other side
Yes.
has all of the other power, or whatever like that. It's it's great.
It's dense with backstory, dense with detail. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And to that point, we have this incredible moment where Iron Bars is like, you could trust me. She's like, well, how can I trust you with anything? You could trust me. Put your hand on my chest and look at my soul. She's like, all right. And she's like, oh, snap.
Why would you? Oh, no.
Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah. That's not the part that I was.
Well, am I keeping my word? I don't care how you feel about me. I care if you understand that I'm telling the truth. That is so funny. And
so amazing. Just that notion of, and Saren doing the translating in that moment too, where she's like, she said she's creeped out by what she saw. And he's like, yeah. Don't worry about that part. That's not the important part. But can she trust me? And he's like, yeah, she actually can trust you.
He's like, oh, Iron Bars, huh?
Well, he's avowed. Is
that a word that we heard before?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Well,
it's a
sounds
game
like
coming
a
out from Obsidian Entertainment later this year, but that I'm very excited about. But that's what I thought. All right, back to the Crippled Gods Warren, and Roulade and Withal go into the Crippled Gods tent, and Roulade's going to have a showdown. He's like, I do not want to go back to life. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. And
then the Crippled God just owns him. Incredible.
Yeah. The scene is, plays out the only way that it could, but the moment that Roulade's frustration builds, and like I can see this scene so clearly in my eye of him being like, okay, you want me to take the sword? Take the sword. And then like grabbing it and trying to like lunge for him and stab him in that moment, but then just popping back to life.
So guess what? You're back.
Ooh,
that was the bargain. That's the bargain.
Man, oh man.
He also like makes fun of the fact that they've been living this lie of the original betrayal, the prologue betrayal with Scabandari and Silkus Ruin. And he kind of like, the way he talks about it is like, you did this. And I didn't know if that meant your people or Roulade specifically. Did you get any of that, or am I crazy?
I did not get that Roulade specifically did the betrayal.
Well, he kept talking to him like, your lies about the betrayal and yada, yada. I don't know. I guess it's more your people.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right. So, and then at the end, Withal like, just like, oh, you suck so hard. You suck so bad.
Enjoy your domain in your stupid little tent.
God, you suck.
This is your existence.
I hate you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. You rule nothing. You rule a tent. It's so great. It's so great how people like disrespect the gods to their face.
Yeah.
It's awesome in these novels. All right. So Saren and the Crimson Guard emerge from the Warren. They've traveled an extraordinary distance because they're traveling by Warren, as we know is possible. We forgot to mention that this woman that they summoned, she asks them to toss her essence into the water.
Well, she doesn't first. She's like, what do you want? You just want a way out of here? Well, what I want is like a favor. So I'll just show you out, whatever. And then they're like, we can do that. That's like nothing for us to just do that.
That was really cool. That dynamic of, and Saren's like, she's just kind of being an honest broker. That's weird. Like a decent, she's not trying to extract the most she can out of us. She's being nice.
And then she's like, what's the cat? Like immediately she's suspicious of somebody who would just do that. There's not no motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, okay, well, if you're willing to do something for me, the nice thing would be for you to toss this, I guess it's a ring. Is it a ring? Yeah. Into the sea so that I can cease to exist. And they're like, oh yeah, no probs. I throw stuff in the ocean all the time. No big deal. we're like, it's on the way. We're going to the ocean.
Yeah.
So they emerge from the warren and they throw the thing and they're like, okay, well, done and done. No need to think about that ever again. We
successfully laid her to rest.
Yes. Completed our bargain, got out, done and done. But Saren is in a bad way. She goes into the water and attempts to drown herself. She's just so distraught, and Iron Bars pulls her out and orders Corlo to heal her and put her to sleep.
Yeah.
Then we have a scene. Oh, go ahead.
This chapter break was so weird. I was going and reading back and forth. It was perfectly on the break of a page in my Kindle that I thought Iron Bars briefly was like, I'm not done with you yet. And I was like, what is happening? And I did change the font size to like understand what was happening between the two different scenes, because it goes immediately from Iron Bars having Corlo put Saren to sleep to, I assume, the voice of the crippled god saying, no, little baby, we ain't done here, and rezzing her. And she's
rezzing like, the spirit lady who's the ring lady.
Yes,
right?
the ring lady. Rezzing the ring lady.
She's like, all I want to do is go to oblivion and just cease to exist. Throw me in the sea. And she's like, no, guess what? Your body was down here. I'm going to put you back in your body.
Oh, horrifying that it like claws its way out, and seeing that like her corpse being there, like through her own eyes, being like, oh God, and then being drawn into it at the moment that it breaches the waves.
Yeah.
Whew, spooky.
Incredibly written too. The like going up to this, breaking the surface and just being reborn. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Another scene like that is the next one. We're back to Udnas, who's just standing over the corpse of his master, like knowingly silent, not moving, not taking care of it, knowing that like, well, this isn't over.
Yeah, he's like, all right. Absolutely terrible screaming in 5, 4.
Yeah. And then we have this like his neck, just completely the wrong direction, screaming, come back to life. And then he's like, okay, I need
where are they at?
Warriors on that wall. And then people are like, okay.
Oh, gosh.
Master?
Yes.
So you don't die anymore? He's like, oh, I die. All I do is die.
That's my whole existence is death. Whoo!
My favorite part of this scene is when they're like, Master, we will get the one who did this to you. And he's like, oh, you can't. It's a god and he lives in a tent and it's awful. And they're like, no. The man who stabbed you is like, right.
Yep.
Yes. That's who I was talking about.
That guy. Sorry. What you said.
Just the fact that he like comes back like to horrible life, just belligerent and out of it, and like, oh, what?
I definitely
so funny to me.
As it like goes on, I cannot stop picturing that he's like in his Edgar suit and he's like,
yes,
war,
just covered in heavy coins, just like, oh, this is awful. Like, we will follow you, whatever you say, Emperor. Yeah, right. We're done. Yes. Emperoring. I'm going to emperor so much today.
I am not a 16-year-old idiot. I am emperor, and we will get them. Now go.
And then the final scene of the chapter, amazing too. Withal is like, I hate this dumb crippled god. So stupid. And the crippled god is like, hey, man, no hard feelings. I got you a gift, bro.
Hey,
I got you something. I know you're lonely. You don't like hanging out with those things.
Demons? Bokeral?
Weird old monkey demons. I got you something. He's like, what'd you get me? Like a boat? Like a boat so I could sail away from this dumb place. So dumb. I want to go. Okay. I'll go down to this beach and I'll find a boat. Oh, it's a lady.
And he's like, oh no. He's like,
I didn't want a lady.
You don't like my gift, bro? I made that for you.
Incredible.
Oh gosh.
And then it ends with him being like, I don't believe in religion, which, by the way, in a world where there's actual physical gods that you can hang out with, how do you not believe in religion? It's a little bit like, I don't believe in it. It's a
Well,
guy. He's standing right there.
yeah, but like I guess that's interesting. It's like, is it religion or is it like a very like a world of magic? Are they
Yeah.
gods? Or are they just very, very powerful magical beings? I feel like in the world
Potato,
of
potato.
literal, I know, but I guess if you're like calling him, it seems at odds to say I acknowledge he is a god, but I do not believe
Right.
in religion.
Right.
Yeah.
But then starts praying to Mael, the god of the sea, which we saw at the beginning of the book in the prelude.
Yes.
So that seems like a big deal.
I don't know if you know this, but the water's important.
So, like I said, you know, not enough Tehal in these 2 chapters for me, but pretty awesome chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And the war is on. I still don't know how we're going to get to Troll and all that stuff, but I also don't know at this point who has the upper hand in the war, because it felt like it felt like, you know, the
It feels
Idur
yeah.
were losing, and then it felt like the Idur were winning, and now I don't even know.
I feel like nobody has an upper hand in the war, and
Yeah.
I predict mutually assured destruction.
It does
Because
sound bad.
the Idur, I mean, other than Trull and like the pirates on the boat, we don't really in the what we perceive to be the future. They don't really seem to be around as much, other than being
Right.
like, "Give us our throne back. We want to come back, but now we're all baddies."
Yeah.
And we haven't met anybody from Letherus that we know of.
Right.
And
That we know
so,
of. Yeah. So maybe they get wiped out.
yeah, they just obliterate each other. And then
But I do feel like there's this whole thing percolating that's been set to the side for a moment of all the other brothers,
well, didn't they just
the Benedict
kill
brothers, you know, all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, the Benedict brothers. But also, we didn't really touch on it. Rulad got killed, but also didn't most of his brothers get killed? Or he just called them his brothers, as in like his Idur brothers.
Yeah, I don't think
They were his real
Fear
brothers.
and Troll haven't been killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The I feel like what's gonna happen, those Toblakai are gonna come out of the Azoth house and they'll just kill everybody.
Oh yeah, that's also percolating.
Yeah. Who knows?
Convergence.
And Scabandari or Silkus is coming out of the
Well, one of the things that they said in
house.
these chapters was, I guess that means that Scabandari is really truly dead, because he wouldn't have let the Idur like hang
Fail
out with
so
a
hard.
different god.
Different god. And then
Yeah.
they were like, maybe. I think they
Yeah.
implied pretty heavily that he's not dead.
Hmm.
They said if he were dead, he wouldn't have let this happen.
No, if he were
And then it
alive,
was
he
like,
wouldn't have let
oh,
this
yeah.
happen.
But then they say there's like a line that's, I think, pretty heavily implied, but we all know he's not dead.
So my reading was, well, he must really be dead, which usually means he's definitely not dead. But when they're like, he must really be dead because he wouldn't have let this happen to them. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
When do you remember when that happened?
No,
I want to I will find it afterwards and maybe I'll put it in the Discord. But there was specifically a line that was like, he wouldn't have let this happen, but he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's do our favorite passages from these sections.
I think my favorite passages are weird. I think they were wacky ones.
Yeah. That's cool. I like wacky ones.
And I got a bunch of little guys.
Okay. I have a few.
You can start with one.
All right. I like very much this section about Saren. Blind drunk. A description Saren Pedak sought to explore with all the fumbling, murky intent of a mind poisoned into stupidity. But somehow she was failing, Instead of blind, she was painfully aware of the figures on all sides of her small table, the seething press and the loose rubble sound of countless voices. Stupidity had yet to arrive, and possibly never would, as stolid sobriety held on, dogged and immovable and indifferent to the seemingly endless cups of wine she drank down. I just love that.
I love that. The rubble sounds of the voices
Yeah.
around her. That is beautiful.
I love the idea of like blind drunk. It's something I'm exploring.
I really want to check out the space. Yeah. I've got one here that is, I think, a longer one that I pulled about Trull.
Okay.
Right before they sort of set off down their thing, before he's getting doubted by everybody around him.
Yeah.
There was no point in arguing any further, he told himself as he made his way to where his company waited. No one wanted to listen. Independent thought had been relinquished with appalling eagerness, it seemed to him, and in its place had risen a stolid resolve to question nothing. Worse, Trull found he could not help himself, even as he saw the anger grow in the faces of those around him. Anger that he dare challenge, that he dare think in ways contrary to theirs, and so threaten their certainty. He was unable to stay silent. Momentum was building all around him, and the stronger it grew, the more he resisted it. In a way, he suspected he was becoming as reactionary as they were, driven into extreme opposition. And though he struggled against this dogmatic obstinacy, it was a battle he sensed he was losing. There was nothing of value in such opposed positions of thought, and no possible conclusion but his own isolation, and eventually the loss of trust.
I also selected that one. I think that's like the perfect description of social media.
Yes. Yes.
The perfect description of it. It's
the perfect description of, like, I don't know, so many conversations. If you are not 100% with me, then you are against me.
It is the death of nuance, and it is the death of actual conversation. It's I'm forced into this extreme position, and now we're not even talking.
Yeah.
It just feels like the modern life, you know?
Yeah. I actually suspected that you would highlight that because I don't know. It's as soon as I think of a lot of you saying, as soon as we lose the ability to even have a discussion, we've lost. We've lost.
That's what I believe. I believe the solution is being able to talk to each other, and we've gotten to a point where in a lot of areas we can't.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. This is just kind of fun. I've never heard a take on demons like this. I like this. 12 other worlds, then? What would they be like? What kind of creatures populated them? Demons. And perhaps that was all the word demon meant. Some creature torn from its own realm. Some creature torn from its own realm, bound like a slave by a new master who cared nothing for its life, its well-being, who would simply use it like any other tool until made useless, whereupon it would be discarded.
Love it. I really like that as well.
What is a demon? A demon is just this thing that we pull from where it belongs. Like, how? In what other novel is there sympathy for the demon?
A demon is just something without context.
Yeah, it's just something you pull from where it belongs. Use it when how much you need it, and then discard it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have a demon. It's like, yeah.
I forgot that I pulled this one. I really liked it, and I'm glad because we didn't touch on it as it was happening. This is Udenas following Rulad in the wake of the destruction that he is like wreaking upon that town that they're in. Udenas stumbled over corpses, writhing, weeping figures, blind with dying. Men called for their mothers. And to these, the slave reached down and touched a shoulder, or laid fingertips to slick foreheads and murmured, "I'm here, my boy. It's all right. You can go now." The apologetic priest chain-snapped forward step by step, whispering hollow blessings, soft lies, forgiving even as he prayed for someone, something to forgive him in turn. But no one touched him. No fingertips brushed his brow.
Wow.
That he did that.
Yeah.
That he became whatever he needed for everyone around him was, I just thought that was such a
beautiful
touch on what this is, and powerful to what Udnas seems to be.
I also have a quick Udnas one. This is my last one. It's just a single sentence. I just think it's so beautiful. Not even the whole sentence, just like the first half, but I'll read the whole thing. Dreams could pass between the blinks of a man's eyes, answered by wild casting about, disorientation, an unstoppered flood of discordant emotions. Dreams could pass between the blinks of a man's eyes. That's awesome. That's poetry.
I had another single sentence myself, and then I think I have one more, but I'll double check.
Yeah, go for it.
If one could always choose the right questions, then every answer could be as obvious.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how I feel in my my day job.
That reminds me of it reminds me of Douglas Adams, like the answer is 42. It's the question that's the important part.
Yeah. And I have one more single sentence. Another heartbeat, and the last two Tistidur warriors were down, their bodies eagerly dispensing blood like payment onto the cobbles.
So good. Dispensing blood like payment. Some good prose, baby.
We love it. We love it.
Book good.
Book good, baby. Book good. Erikson,
all right.
Good.
Real good. Next week, I think we're 2 chapters again. Is that right?
I don't know.
I want to say that's true. I could be wrong. It'll be up on the screen, though. And we appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you for the cool suggestions for a non-spoiler topic. Please keep those coming. And we will see you next week. Let's dance it out.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. Join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends.